Hi, welcome to my video on the average rate of change, and this is extra problems number 1. Always good to do some extra problems to help you think. First problem, the rate of change, the h of t equals 700 minus 1200 divided by t plus 2, where t got to be greater than or equal to 0, represents the height h of the tree in centimeters after time t in months. So this formula is representing the growth of a tree. Find the average rate of change in the height from 0 to 8 months. So the age 0 months is sub-zero in the equation and solve it. So we get 700. 1200 divided by 2 gives us 600. So it's 100. And again, the height is in centimeters. So it's 100 centimeters. So that's, in other words, the tree is, this equation represents the height is initially 100 when it starts. Now it's going to go to 8 months. So 8 months is 700 divided by 1200 divided by 8 plus 2. So that's 700. 8 plus 2 is 10. 1200 divided by 10 is 120. So that gives us 120 subtracted from 700 is 580. So at 8 months is 580. Okay, so that means we have to get the average rate of change. So the rate of change in the height. So that's the slope. So it's a y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So that's 480 divided by 8, and that ends up to be 60. And so it's 60 centimeters per month. That's the rate of change. The rate of change is 60 centimeters per month, change in the height. Now I add a little extra part to this, is find the height of the tree if the tree grows forever. So that's assuming that the tree will grow forever, just theoretically. We know that's probably not going to happen in real life because it will die, or it will, eventually not keep growing. But if it did, so what does it mean to grow forever? That means t is equal to infinity. It's going to go to infinity forever. So that means the h of infinity is equal to 700 minus 1200 divided by infinity plus 2. So what does that mean in math? Well, infinity plus 2 is infinity. Because 2, when you go get a very, very large number, adding on 2 is not going to make any difference. You got a very, very large number, infinity. If you take 1200 and divide it by infinity, so as this goes to infinity, this fraction goes to 0. So that means the height will grow to be 700 centimeters. So I just made up this problem, and theoretically, see how it pans out. Here we go. So I did the average rate of height, and I also did a little bit of looking at this part represents a rational function, which is previous unit that I have in my pre-calculus. Number 2, the radius of a circle is changing at a rate of 10 centimeters per second. Express the radius as a function of time. So what we have is this is the rate, and the rate is 10 centimeters per second. So for every second that goes by, we have 10 centimeters. So that means that the rate of change in the radius So the radius of the circle is going to be 10 centimeters, the rate, times time, t seconds. So the seconds cancel out, so the rate is going to be 10 t, the radius is going to be 10 t centimeters. So the radius is 10 t. An example, if you take the rate times time gives you, in this case, it's going to give you the distance. So you have 10 t. So 1 second will give you 10, 2 seconds will give you 20, 3 seconds will give you 30, etc. So the radius is 10 t. The centimeters is only here to give you what the unit is in terms of the radius. So it's 10 t is more important. Now B, express the area as a function of time. So the area of a circle, A equals pi radius squared. So pi, and the radius is 10t. So we put now the area right here in this equation, the area is a function of the radius. Now the area is a function of time. So that's pi times 100 t squared. So the area is now 100 pi t squared. And again, the area, and this is square centimeters for area. The radius is in centimeters, so the area is, this is in square centimeters. So we're going to use this formula to find the rate of change in the area from 2 to 5 seconds. So 2 seconds, the area is 100 pi t squared. So t is 2, so it's 2. That gives us 4, so that's 400 pi. And again, it's centimeters squared. And what about when it changes? Let's find the rate of change in the area from 2 to 5 seconds. So t is 5, so the area is 100 pi t squared. 100 pi 5 squared. 100 pi 25. So that gives us 2500 pi. And again, it's square centimeters. So what is the rate of change of the area? So the rate of change, which is the slope, is, and this equation, this point here, 2 gives us 400 pi. And right here, 5 gives us 2500 pi. So the rate is y2, which is 2500 pi. Subtract 400 pi. So this is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, so 5 over 2. So that gives us 2100 pi over 3. So it's 700 pi. And you want it to the nearest centimeter, square centimeter. So this is in terms of pi. So if you let pi be 3.14 and multiply 700 by 3.14, it comes out to be 2198. But if you use a pi on a calculator and use 700 times the calculator, you'll get 2199. So it depends if you use 3.14 to get this number, 2198, or if you use your calculator and did 700 times pi, and pi is 3.14, that goes on, irrational number, you'll get 2199 to the nearest unit. So this is in square centimeters. So either one of these, so this is centimeters. So this is the exact answer, 700 pi square centimeter. This is an approximation, depending on which number you use. Okay, let's continue. And I found another little different problem. Find the rate of change of the legs of a right triangle is 3 feet per, this is 3 feet is changing, the rate of change is 3 feet, and this is over the time. It could be in, I got H here, so let's 3 feet, H is hours. So 3 feet per hour on 4 feet per hour. For a second, I looked at the H and I was just thinking, my brain went a little bit off then, because the H just threw me for a loop, but it's hour. Express the hypotenuse as a function of time. Find the rate of change in the hypotenuse from 1 to 4 hours. Well, we have a rate, so we got leg 1 and we have leg 2. Leg 1, so the rate for leg 1 is 3 feet per hour. The rate for leg 2 is 4 feet per hour. And so that means we got feet, so that means the leg 1, the length of leg 1, let's write down the length of leg 1 so we don't get fooled with L for leg. The length of leg 1 is 3 feet per hour times T hours. So the hours cancel out and I get 3T feet. Again, I'm more concerned with the 3T, knowing that this is, again, is feet. It's the number of feet per hour. So when you multiply by time, you'll get 3T hours. So T, if T is 0, you get the length is 0. If T is 1, you get a 3. If T is 2, you get a 6 feet. And this one is also the length of leg 2 is 4 feet per hour times T hours. So that cancels out and you get 4T feet or 4T. So we have a right triangle. Now in a right triangle, which is this, the legs are these two that make up the right angle. This is the hypotenuse. So the length of the leg, this leg is 3T. The length of the other one is 4T in length. We want to find what the hypotenuse is. And so the hypotenuse has a property C squared is A squared plus B squared. So the hypotenuse is H being squared. A is 3T being squared. B is 4T being squared. So H squared is 9T squared. And that's 16T squared. So H squared is 25T squared. H is plus or minus the square root of 25T squared. So H is equal to plus or minus 5T. And we know that the hypotenuse, H is not height, H is the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse has to be 5T because it can't be negative. So that means this is 5T. So 1 second, 1 hour, this is 3. 1 hour here is 4. 1 hour here is 5. So 3 squared plus 4 squared is 5 squared. If 2 hours is here, we get a 6. We get an 8 and a 10. 6 squared, 8 squared is 10 squared. So the length, the rate of change in the hypotenuse is H equals 5T. Now notice that this, the length of the hypotenuse is 5T. That's a linear. So the rate of change in the hypotenuse, so the rate of change in the hypotenuse is going to be 5. Because this is a linear. This is like mx plus b. So this is like y equals mx plus b. So that means that, you think about it, we have m, so this is a 0, so the slope is 5. So the rate of change in the hypotenuse over time is 5 feet. So this is 5 feet per hour. But let's work that out. Let's take this equation and put in from 1 to 4. So when the time is 1, we get h equals 5t. We get 5 times 1, which is 5. So 1 hour is 5 feet. And when the time is 4 hours, we get the h of 4, 5 times t, 5 times 4, we get a 20. So 4 gives us a 20. So the rate of change is y2, 20, minus y1, which is 5, over 4 minus 1. So that's 15 over 3, which is 5. But I worked all this out. I knew that this was a linear and the slope was 5. So I could have gotten that right away, or I could have worked it out to get. I did all this work just to show you that this is a linear. And when I worked out the two values and the two ordered pairs, I still came up with the 5 because this is a linear. Right, that is a different problem. And again, if you like my video, click on the like button, click on the subscribe button. Visit my website, www.mathfullyexplained.com, to find more information about me, my videos, and the content. That's the content on my YouTube channel called Math Fully Explained, just one word. Thank you for viewing my video. Hope the video helped you. Bye-bye.